It's April 28th at 3:05. We're going to go ahead and start the finance meeting for April. Do we have any visitors?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You finally with us?
I'm taking my notes. I'm not used to being the one to
Okay.
ask if there's any, or if there was any visitors.
All right, we're going to go to C1. We have Nathan.
Mhm.
What's his last name?
Barrett.
Nathan Barrett, from Total Grant Services is going to give us a short presentation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. My name is Nathan Barrett. I am a freshly retired superintendent of schools. I retired on December 31st of 2025. I sat in the chair that most of you are sitting in right now, school district superintendent and an administrator for just about half of my 25-year career. About 3 years ago, I started a consulting firm that has taken me out of public education and serving institutions such as yours. We are a grant writing / consulting firm that is now pretty much in most regions of the state. I have a team of 12 consultants that work for me, and we serve over 60 school districts, public school districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Of my team, you have superintendents or administrators. So they speak the language, talk the language, hear the language that all of you would hopefully speak to us if I was lucky enough to get this opportunity to partner with you. We are a grant writing firm that gives you 16 to 20 hours per month. We are a firm that would send you an intake link that would ask for your top 3. If you had a magic wand and you wanted to fix 3 things in your district, we would send that intake link. You'd send it back to us. We'd assign one of our consultants to your district. The 16 to 20 hours a month come from the same time, same day of the week. We would be working on your school district. So I'll give you an example. Is every Monday from 8 to 12, our team will converge on Keystone Central, and we would work on all of your needs based on the intake link that you have given us. Those 16 to 20 hours vary based on whether there's 4 or 5 months within that, or 4 or 5 weeks within that month. The excellent part about about us working with your district is that we have a vast database of all your needs. So if you give us top 3 things, we have a very deep database that goes from your basics. It could be your federal and your state grants, but we also learn about your community, the community grants, the foundational grants, the philanthropic grants, and then anything particular to your needs. So if there's something from a mental health standpoint, something from early childhood standpoint, we could dive into various medical, professional, philanthropic efforts as well. So my role where I come in anymore is I now work at the Capitol. I am a lobbyist for the grant writing firm. So not only are you paying for grant writing needs, then what I take is all your competitive applications and I network them at any of the 16 agencies at the state capitol. I'm down there 3 days a week while legislators are in session from Monday to Wednesday. I take every competitive application, take it to the agency that's providing the funding source, and I network your application with the lobbyist firm that I am now employed by. We have a very successful formula that we have been using. Traditionally, with our $2,000 a month and 2-year contracts, it's an investment of $24,000 a year or $48,000 over the course of the 2-year contract we ask for. We have had nothing over the last several years than a 10-time return on your investment. So the lowest that we had last year for $24,000 is $250,000 in return. On top of that, we have been working so intricately with these state agencies that the Department of Education, Human Services, and Health have provided pilot programs for all the total grant services, or we call it TGS, members. So if we were lucky enough to become partners with you, you would be eligible for some of these grants. Two of them in particular that we're set to launch now are multilingual social services for your regular education kids. Most of your bandwidth is from your social service agencies are usually gobbled up by, your Chapter 16 kids, your special ed or your 504 students, leaving your regular education students in need of some social servicing. So we have philanthropic, human services, Department of Ed and Health combination pilot program that we're funneling out of total grant services into communities throughout the state. And hopefully one of them could be yours. The next thing is risk intelligence education. If you have been following the meta litigation shows that the addictive nature of the algorithms that the social media conglomerates have strategically targeted the amygdala of the brain. It's the part of the brain that is the risky part of the brain, so to speak. But the Department of Health and Education have partnered and are funneling through our firm the risk intelligence curriculum that we're set to roll out for the fall. So those are two separate pilot programs in addition to the monetary value that we bring to the table. I also want to offer you the service that consulting. So we, within the $2,000 a month that we ask, if there's anything in any of those 16 agencies that your district may need, your superintendent of schools or the designee may need something, the most common thing that we do is if you have a pending license, whether it's a teaching license or administrative license hung up in the pending status, since I'm down there 3 days a week, I'm a text message, I'm a phone call away. I get up out of my chair, I walk across the street to the Capitol, I shake that pending status loose or give it heck anyway to try to do so. That's part of the services, or anything from the Department of Transportation with your transportation coordinator, your vendor, whoever it might be, so on and so forth. But these are all things that are embedded into that monthly fee that hopefully we get the chance to perform for your district. I hope I covered everything. I'll pause here because I'm mindful of your time, but to open it up for some questions.
Anybody got any questions? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Hi, Nathan.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us and taking the time.
You're very welcome.
This question, what about competition? If you're serving 60 school districts or however many you said, how is that going to resonate if a multitude of school districts that you're supporting, championing for, are going for the exact same grant? How's that work?
Perfect. I'm glad, and I'm sorry that I forgot this because I get this most presentations. So my structure when I'm in Harrisburg, the advocating piece or the lobbying piece is I seek half the money from the House of Representatives and half from your Senate. I break up your school district as to who represents. So what happens is that I'm very strategic. If you have a neighboring district that is seeking the same grant, what I may do, and I'm going to use this as an example, is let's say school facilities improvement. School facilities improvement just closed on March 13th, and I'll give you the need. There's $180 million allocated for all school districts across the Commonwealth, and there was $6 billion in asks. So
Right.
that shows the need. But I think it goes hand in hand with your question. So what I would do is if I had two school districts within a legislative district, 2 or 3, what I would do is I would seek one application from your state representative, and then I would seek the other one from your state senator. So they're never competitive. What I do is I network that individual application, advocate with those particular legislators, and try to make them choose one application. So then they are both running their own plays. I'm advocating for both, but at the same time, you're getting equal representation. That happens several times throughout the year. There are a multitude of grant applications that school districts are available, multimodal, school facilities improvement, sometimes RACP or RCAP, if you're familiar with any of those. And I have to do this on several times throughout the year. So this is something that I have become pretty accustomed to and getting pretty good at it. So I'm sorry that I didn't clarify that earlier.
I have a follow question, Chris?
Good.
The follow-up question. So that's very exciting that you go right to the source.
Yes.
There are other companies like Grant Watch, et cetera, where, every month they give you a list of all their grants from philanthropy to,
Mhm.
and by state. Now, does your company just do appropriations directly from the elected officials, or do you also tie it into the list where we see basically everything?
So I'll give you a great example. Is today I sent out all the lists that are all the grant opportunities that are available in all the categories you've just mentioned for the month of May. And I'm not sure what Grant Watch does, but our team writes particular and prescriptive to tailor make the needs of your district. So I'm not sure if they are a company that has grant writers. I'm not very familiar with that, but let's say they are, to make it as competitive as possible. My team, what we do is we send you a biweekly report as to what we're researching, what is in process of being applied for, what has been applied for, and then within time, what your awards were and what your return of investment is. So let me, is another piece that I forgot to share with you, is that I want to level set expectations that the first 4 to 6 months are very quiet. So we are pumping multiple applications, and we try to, of your top 3 needs, what we try to do is we do 3 applications for each one of those needs. So right out of the gate, within the first or second month, we try to get 9 applications out into the world somewhere. Okay, we try to front load all those, and the life cycle of a grant is usually about 6 months. So I don't want anybody to, let's say I did get lucky enough to become one of your clients, or one of your vendors, that in 4 months in, you're upset with me that you're not seeing anything right out of the gate. That's the grant life. But to be on top of things is not only working on those top 3 things. Then what we do is at the end of every month, we send next month's availability. And then we say to your superintendent or the designee, hey, listen, any of these spark interest, any of these are something you would like us to pursue. And then we're maximizing every minute of that monthly stipend that you're paying us for. So on a biweekly basis, you're getting a report as to where your money is going to. I know you're answering to an administration who's answering to a board who's answering to a community. So we also then send a board report that either I could deliver on a monthly basis, or a superintendent of schools could do it in their monthly report to show where their money is going. And then the final piece is that we try to keep that cost as efficient as possible, because remember, $2,000 a month, half of that is to pay your grant writer, and then the other half is for the lobbying piece. What we did was, from a strategic standpoint, we equitably spread the cost out amongst the school districts within your community or your IU to pay for the lobbying. No one school district could pay a 5-figure lobbying fee a month. So what we do is equitably spread that out amongst your neighbors so that you get equal punching power or representation at the state capitol. So that also goes in Washington, D.C. as well. So if there's something that we pump into a federal agency, we could also advocate for that as well. But Grant Watch, the reason why I would stand firm that we are competitive is that they may write your grants, and that's probably wonderful. They're probably fantastic at what they do, but it's the follow-up and it's the networking on the lobbying that you're getting on the back half of this that not one school district could afford if we didn't do this at an equitable cost to share format that we're doing within your region.
Follow-up question, Chris?
Sure.
That's the follow-up is the question is, understood. Step A, step B, step C, it gets awarded, and then it goes through our facilities or a business manager or curriculum. So so the school district is in charge of all the invoicing, all of that? Or who gets the pot of money and how is that divvied up?
So
Who manages it?
you get, okay, we manage it. We do. I'm not going to say that we wouldn't be in anybody's hair. We would be in your accounts payable for the month. We need to do our quarterly reports to show that what the money came in, where it was expended. So whoever, whether it's a clerical work or whether it's your business admin, we would ask for those quarterly expenditures so we can upload them. So it is a little bit of work on the office management, but for the most part, we want to make this as convenient as possible so you never want to be without us. So I'm trying to make this as convenient as possible. We will ask. We have become in quite the echo cycle of working with the same people over and over. They know we're going to be sending them something. Hey, listen, next week, if you could get us those quarterly reports for the RACP, your most updated and recent expenditures. Then we sort them out, we upload them, and we manage it so that we're never a nuisance to anybody. If you're doing the work, why have us? So that's what we try to make it not be.
Okay, and one last question. Annual audits. Now, would this come under our standard audits? Now, our standard audits by PA law are just the money from federal and state agencies. Now, would that be included in those school audits, or is this something that gets audited independently by you or a third party?
No, when we upload them to the state, an analyst, if there's ever an issue that requires us to if there's a finding on an audit, the analyst would work with me and I'd work with your business admin team.
Okay.
We don't have that too frequently. And then when we upload those, and let's just say unicorns and rainbows, there was no issue. Because we very infrequently, as a matter of fact, to be truthful with you, I don't remember one time where we had a ding, but a ding on those grant reports. That just is uploaded into the annual financial report, and it seems to be a seamless process.
Okay, and then the grants that aren't state or federal funds, let's say they come from a third-party nonprofit organization. Now, how would those be audited if they need to be audited? Is that something your company does internally? You have your own audits, or is that something we would have to be?
No, so it would probably operate the same way. There's not too many nonprofits that are giving funds to schools, but if you have, I don't know if you have an educational foundation, that would be when we would work with these nonprofits to work with your 501c3, and it would operate the same way with just the same annual financial report, the same auditing process. And yes, the answer is we would handle that as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else? You guys got a question?
I just wanted to mention, Nathan, didn't you mention that the IU would also contribute?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm so sorry. So out of so the first three, I'm so sorry about this. The first 6 school districts that sign up, the intermediate unit will contribute $300 per school district per month for the 2 years. So in actuality, you are the second school district that I'm presenting to. So let's say unicorns and rainbows, this went forward and you signed on with us. You would be one of the first 6. So your contribution would be $1,700 a month, and they would pay us the $300 additional. So yes, I'm so sorry that I left that out.
That's for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's for 2 years. Yeah, that's a 2-year commitment by the IU.
It's good incentive.
Mhm. And
And they have signed that contract already, just to give you peace of mind.
does the grant money, I think Elizabeth asked this, it comes to the school district though, if we would.
Directly to the school district. Oh, and let me just accentuate something further. If we landed $1 million grant, you get $1 million. There's not a dime we take out. $2,000 a month is something you could budget for. $2,000 a month is the only thing you spend. We do not collect a percentage. We don't. If we get you $1 million, we're just all going to celebrate together, and then you take that money, and that's all your money. The only expenditure you have is $24,000 a year, or $48,000 over 2 years.
Okay. And then if the board, we'll put this on the voting session, the work session, a voting session. If the board majority decides to go this route, then we would vote yes, and then you handle the contracts, and then they would start soon thereafter. Okay.
Nathan,
Or immediate.
we all know grants are not guaranteed.
Correct.
So we're risking a 2-year contract of $48,000.
Mhm.
What happens if you don't get anything?
Oh, we're up.
It's just a gamble, correct?
It is a gamble, as I was sitting here telling you about risk intelligence curriculum before. And here I am telling you, take a risk with us. So I have not had that happen. Again, last year, my lowest output from our firm was $250,000. So, I'm going to knock on wood here, and I know that might not give you the best peace of mind, but, we do have a pretty good formula that is working, to make this a success. And I'm confident to say that I think we could produce much of the same for you. But you're absolutely right. I can't give you a guarantee today. But for us not to land, I'll give you an example is what I said before. In your top 3 needs, we throw 3 grants in for each of those 3. We continue to do that. And I joke, and I hope this is a great analogy. Up in Cooperstown, New York, someone who batted 300 is in the Hall of Fame. So if I land one of those 3 and I keep repeating that process every month and I land 300, hopefully I'm your Hall of Fame grant writer. So I am a stickler on my team that we are producing that type of output. So with numbers comes frequency, comes success. So I will stay on top of them to make sure that the output is at a pace that I don't think for not putting out a lot of grants, our chances are going to be much lower. But I think over time we'll build confidence in one another if you take the risk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for setting this up.
No, we will discuss it and we'll be talking about it with Joni.
I'm grateful. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right, let's move on to number 2, athletic sports information. And before we start this, I want to make one thing perfectly clear to everybody. There's so many rumors going around that we're looking at closing this and closing that. And I want to say, as Bill said at the last meeting, we've not discussed that. And those rumors are false. We are looking at every single department's budget to see that we can do the best we can do for our students, our employees, and our taxpayers. So the rumors just need to stop. I don't know who's doing them all, but we're going to look at every single department. I think that's fair to say. So let's start up with the athletic sports information. There's a lot of info here, so it's going to take us a little bit. So Joni, I'll let you start it.
Actually, I'll let the athletic directors or I don't.
Oh, I didn't even know you guys were back there.
They're
I'm
actually
sorry. Come on up here.
And Kelly as well. I don't, there's many people in the building. They're in the room
Yeah,
that.
come on, Kelly, you're on the button too.
Stay back.
Well, he can give you a microphone.
And Sam is here as well if we need
Yeah,
any questions from facility side.
welcome, gents.
Hello.
You guys are hiding in the corner. I didn't even see you back there.
So as you referenced, Chris, there's a lot of information attached. I think, and I appreciate, what you said as we start this information. Months and months ago, we were asked to really begin to analyze our budget, to try to look at every aspect, avenue, and we've had lots of conversations. But again, that's all they've been is conversations, looking at different avenues, trying to decide like areas that may save us more from long-term investments, things like that. And I believe we've tried to do that to the best of our abilities and bring you that kind of information. And so in the attachments, there's a lot of different things that are there for you to kind of review as far as the athletic sports information. Outlined in some of the questions that were up there. I think those are pretty straightforward as far as what we've answered. Specifically, it inquired about football. And so as we have met with Dr. Redmond, Mr. Polito and I don't want to speak for anything as I'm the AD for Bucktail, but we tried to go down through and be able to answer those and then try to give you some of the different cost analysis that goes down with the current facilities. I know that we had talked, Sam and I, and looking at operational costs from painting fields, lines, workers, watering grass, different things. So we tried to outline a lot of that information. From participation numbers, they're there. I think what we see is that typically our numbers are pretty consistent. Obviously, you're dealing with a 5A high school and a 1A high school. So the number of students participating is going to be reflective of that information. And I think that's certainly understandable. From my perspective, I think one of the biggest conversations that came up was and I think that's really maybe what led to some of the conversation outside and the rumors and things that you referred to. We are currently aware that from the Bucktail campus and looking at their facility, it's not ADA compliant. And we know that the bleachers are currently not up to code. That does not mean that they can't continue to be used. There's a liability conversation in there as far as the district understanding that, it doesn't meet those standards as far as ADA, and that in order to do any kind of updates to those areas, there's a significant cost, and those costs are outlined in there. And so I think that was more of the conversation, or way it was intended, is to understand, this is where we're at. These are the current costs. And from a long-term investment, would that be something that the board wants to entertain? And so that's kind of my take. I don't want to steal Mr. Polito's thunder. He's anxious to get in here and jump in on the microphone. So I'll kind of step away and let him add anything to that.
Yeah, and honestly, just following up on what Dave was talking about.
Can you speak into the
Oh,
mic,
I'm sorry.
Jim? Thanks.
There we go. I apologize. Anyways, to follow up what Mr. Peters was saying, our football numbers have been pretty consistent for the last 11 years. I pulled data for the last 11 seasons, with the low being 18, high being 25, and usually hover somewhere in between. Costs are also fairly consistent over a 3-year period. I pulled that information, and just for the football program, not looking at band or cheer, which is kind of our accompanying programs that go along with that. It's $41,000 this past season, with the high being the 22-23 year of $43,000, $827. So it hovers in that neighborhood. The big issue, as Mr. Peters alluded, is that the football field. So the bleachers are not ADA compliant, and we can continue to use them, but there is that liability conversation we need to look at. However, yeah, it's just that is where we are on that part. But the program itself, both the numbers and the costs have been pretty consistent. So when Sam went and got some quotes, it was looking at I believe it was $1.5 to $2 million to probably tear down, replace, and get everything up to ADA compliance. So that, I believe, is where probably a lot of the conversation and rumors started, because of that large price tag attached to the field and updating it. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are with our football program and the numbers.
And I'm just asking this question because I'm not sure. For stuff like that, bleacher boards being replaced, stuff like that, are the PTOs allowed to do fundraisers and help support that?
So I think Sam may be better equipped to answer some of this, because I don't want to speak to anything that is an inaccurate information. But I think a lot of the conversation was that as you begin repairs, there are limitations as to what you can do before you have to update the full facility and look at some of those things. And so, Sam's here anywhere.
He's sitting behind you.
Oh, he's got his own red
See,
light.
you didn't see him
Yeah,
either.
right.
Yes. So like Mr. Peters said, once you start repairing the bleachers that exist and we get past a certain percentage, you have to replace everything. So right now, yes, we carry the liability of if somebody gets hurt on bleachers that aren't up to today's code, you know, there might be a liability piece to that, but it's not that we're non-compliant because our bleachers were up to code when they were installed.
Mhm.
We don't have an ADA path to the stadium to either side, home or away bleachers. So they have to take a wheelchair or whatever would have to go through the grass. That's not acceptable. So that's the start from the parking lot is everything from the parking lot out is going to have to be updated and replaced at some point in Renova.
Chris, I would add to that, like, it's very similar to what occurred at McGill Field at the middle school complex. Recently, in the last few years, the bleachers finally got to a point where we couldn't, even though they were grandfathered in, we didn't meet the ADA. And at that time, we made a decision that we weren't going to continue to play games there. We didn't want to spend the money to update that facility. We've been able to kind of convert a lot of the middle school games over here. We can still use that area for practice, but we don't use it for game purposes. We've invested a lot into the stadium here as far as the turf and everything. And so we've been able to kind of utilize that much more efficiently, bring more teams into there and obviously get more use out of that area because we have put the investment into the turf.
I personally, and this is my own opinion, I think ADA does a lot of good things for a lot of people. And I think sometimes they overreach because 90% of my travel is in the grass.
You got special wheels.
Yeah, it goes off. Yeah. Sam, when you say you have to after you reach a certain point, is that because of a law or regulation, or is it just because it becomes more?
No,
reasonable
I'm
to
pretty
do
sure
all
that
of
is
it?
actual code that
Okay.
once you get to a certain percentage
Yeah.
of the existing, you have to
Gotcha.
go
Thank you.
all in.
What is that percentage? Do you know?
And like I say, we're not just looking at Bucktail. We're looking at all the programs. So we have to keep an open mind on that. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't think you were done. Are you done?
Are you guys done or?
Well, most of the attachments relate to, as far as
Right.
revenue coming in. And again, that information is there to be able to share, for everybody. But it's not really a question of who's making more money at the gate or
Right.
anything like that. That was never the intention. I think it's more of the long-term investment and understanding our current situation, the cost associated with it. And understanding from a standpoint of, is that an area that we foresee down the road, putting that type of investment into? We talked a little bit about usage. Obviously, we've had to make changes here to utilize the Malinak Stadium differently. As Mr. Polito and I talked about it a little bit, that space is typically used throughout the football season. And so we use it at other times in the spring, different things down here. So the actual use for it is when you're looking at home games for both their junior high as well as their varsity team. And I think it ranged from about 8 to 10 times a year.
Well, I fully believe that sports and kids go hand in hand. It provides camaraderie, school spirit, the whole 9 yards. Let me ask you this, because I was told, and it may be a rumor, but I just want to ask, that in the conference that you folks are in, there's not enough people in it and you have to play same team 2 or 3 times a year. Is that true?
There are plenty of teams in the conference. There are 20. The issue is we're broken up into regions and there are small schools and large schools with some crossover games. This coming season, we would have, I think, only one repeat opponent. We play some out-of-conference schools too. Like Bucktail traditionally plays Columbia Montorvo Tech, sometimes West Branch. So some of the more local schools, we play out of a District 9 conference, which is more over like to the west of us, like out towards Clearfield and areas like
Okay.
that. So it's like smaller schools out that way. Now, in the past 2 years, we 2 of the small schools have closed or consolidated with another school. We used to play Sheffield and Elk County Catholic, but there are plenty of opponents. It's just trying to football being the way it is. We just want to try and make sure it's a good fit. So sometimes it's better to play an opponent twice rather than have someone much larger than us come and play at Bucktail because it just isn't a very competitive game always.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but
Yeah.
I had heard different things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you know, sometimes repeat opponents actually make it better. You
Yeah,
know, it's, anybody ever seen a Steelers Ravens game or an Eagles Cowboys game? It helps. The Dominican Republic, they send a lot of guys to the Major League Baseball. They have when I had a colleague that was from the Dominican Republic, he said they had 4 teams in their professional baseball league. That's all they played all year long was played all 4 of them. You know, there's
All
something to
right.
be said for it. Now, you know, just, you said you went back 11 years and, you know, and there never seems to be a problem fielding a team I mean, I'm just doing rough numbers. You got probably what, 100 people in the high school?
It has gotten precarious a few seasons. Like our low has been 18, and it, depending upon, you know, where injuries occur, it can be difficult to field a team. But we have been fortunate that it hasn't come to a point where we have not had to forfeit games or anything to this point.
But that's important. If they're there and they're happy. Yeah, certainly there was a lot of, the emotion from the visitors at the last meeting
Mhm.
showed that it's important to them, you know, if they can get the kids, you know, and, you know, you need 11 people to play, you know.
How does the
Yeah.
numbers in the lower grades are you be coming up to you for participation? How are they reflecting and looking?
Participation numbers, you got it. The spreadsheet called participation numbers start end. It's a 2-page. They
Yeah.
have junior football there and they have senior football there.
I see that, but I'm talking about you have to have X amount of kids and classes coming up through. Are your class sizes getting smaller up there or are they maintaining?
They're fairly steady. They hover around. There's variance, obviously. I would
Right.
say between the lower end would be like low 20s, like 23-ish, to like a larger class being 35, but they're usually somewhere in the middle.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I had a quick.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. On the participation number start end, oh, sorry. First of all, thank you for all this information, okay? It's gonna take me a while to digest it, even though this is great. Maybe I don't see it on the right spreadsheet, it's my fault, but when the ideal number of participants per sport. So when we're looking at, you can pick any of these categories. Let's say golf. Okay, what would be the ideal number to have a team? Or junior high softball. That's the only number I don't see in all of these spreadsheets. Am I missing it?
I don't think you're missing it, and I guess kind of the
Okay.
word is ideal. When we
Right.
look at some of those, so for instance, golf, a team is 6. And so we've averaged around 14. We also have a co-ed team, so we have females and males competing on the same team. Females compete against the males at other schools. Some schools do have all female teams. And so when you look at some of those things, what it allows us to do is have competition. The lineups change throughout the year. I would say in something like golf, you're looking for 10 to 12 as an average. More than that is fantastic. Obviously you need at least 6. And so again, should someone not be able to play, injury, illness, whatever the case may be, there's some variability with that.
Okay.
Softball is one where it's a little more flexible because the teams are larger. You need 9 on the field. And so obviously you have to have your 9 players. But sometimes players can enter a game, they can sub. Sometimes players are maybe better offensively than defensively. So a good average there would be around 15, 16, so that you have some bench players and being able to do more than that. Obviously, you know, it is a benefit, but becomes more difficult for coaches to.
Parents get mad.
substitute-
Their
yeah,
child isn't playing.
talk to coaches about managing those. And so
Yeah.
there is definitely a balance in there that
Okay.
trying to do that. Currently on our end, junior high sports, we don't cut any sport in junior high other than basketball.
Because
And again, you got 5 people on the court in that game. And so as you get 30 players on a junior high team, there's just not a lot of opportunity. Volleyball is one that we've discussed. It's 6 players, girls volleyball. We had 40 some athletes last year for 2 teams. And so, it was very difficult to manage it. And again, it creates some of those,
my child isn't
not as
playing.
positive experiences
Yes.
for kids because, you know, they understand that. And we tried to navigate some of that by splitting a team so that some played half the schedule and the other. And again, you know, you're looking at how you're trying to manage at it from a coaching perspective. So
Sure.
lots of different opinions on that and how to do it as far as what is ideal. But I think football in our conversations, one of the most difficult ones is because of the nature of the physical contact and those kind of things. It may lend itself. You have a lot of padding on and all those things, but there is a chance sometimes at injuring. It's a difficult time of the year. You're landing on the ground as far as competitive surfaces. And I think that's one of the things that at Bucktail, Jim and I've talked about from, you also have to consider when you have smaller numbers, putting players in positions that maybe naturally aren't fit for them. So an example would be a lineman where maybe traditionally you want a little larger student. But they've always been able to manage and navigate that. And sometimes the size doesn't really matter, you know, as far as how hard the kids work and what they try to do in those positions.
Okay, well, it sounds like, would this be, me personally, I would like to see the ranges, maybe that's the right word, not averages, maybe the ranges of any of these that you feel have been under challenging circumstances, whether the numbers are too high or the numbers are too low. Would that be reasonable to request, the ranges for the sports in those categories?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you off the top of my head, I don't feel like at Central Mountain currently we're in danger of any programs not having enough. We have seen a
Or
trend.
too much,
Yeah, well,
wherever you,
too much. Varsity programs can't cut down here. And so that is again, a difference between the 2 schools. And we try not to. We have some policies from the athletic office side of things that, you know, we're never cutting 1 or 2 kids. Like that's not reasonable. If it's in excess of, you know, we're already keeping 18 players for a team that needs 9 and there's another 25, like then we potentially look at. I think our coaches do an excellent job of trying to be thoughtful of that, and it varies year to year. But on that end of it, from our end, I don't feel like we're lacking. Where we have seen a change in some areas is junior varsity, and particularly for our school girls. And that's a trend in the conference. Lots of schools that in the past year we saw girls soccer, girls basketball, and currently softball. And we have 19 teams in our conference, but it's definitely becoming harder and harder to field junior varsity teams. My own personal opinion is a lot of times students want that instant gratification. If I'm not a starter or I'm not going to varsity team, they just don't want to put necessarily the time in to practice and wait a year or 2 till they get their playing opportunity. So, but that is an area that we've seen, and it has impacted the number of overall games we're playing at the junior varsity level.
okay, so putting in a
Let's-
range for these athletic divisions, would that be too, is that reasonable?
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Okay, and the
Okay.
next one I have, please, is,
Elizabeth,
yeah,
I gotta give these guys a break.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See if
Go
they
ahead.
have any questions.
I'm sorry.
Any of you guys?
So I've been reading, so in terms of the numbers, but I guess back to Elizabeth's question on for the football teams, you said you're usually able to field enough players without injuries. Normally you're able to keep a full team. What I'm reading is about a typical safety buffers for that team is about 22 to 25 players, correct? Would you agree with that number?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's within the range. We determined you could probably low end sneak by the 18, but that's probably a healthy range.
Okay. That was my question.
Okay,
But again, you've been able to do it. That's the important thing.
yeah.
For years.
What
Red-
you say is ideal is fine, but if you're putting a team on the field and the players are happy, that's an
The
important,
students
that's
are
important.
happy and
Yeah.
they're excelling.
That's
That's what
important
matters.
information. You know,
Rich, you got any
Doug
questions?
Flutie was much too small to be playing in the NFL.
So the big concern they had last week, Jim, are they shutting down the football program? Do you have an answer for that?
Not to my knowledge. So, I mean, no one's said we are.
No,
Not
it's
to my
never been
knowledge.
discussed.
I never,
I've never. mm-mm.
not as far as I know, no.
Yeah, so the kids can rest, they're gonna play, and then the other, what is the overall solution for this? Because I hear, different thing, like everybody else, that travel is a big thing, kids are going longer distances than we used to go.
Mhm.
And back in the day, and, is there any possible solution to any of that stuff, you guys, to play more locally? Because our kids lose a lot of time on a daily basis riding buses,
Mm.
and that cuts into the other aspect of their life.
Two potential solutions would be prior to my time here, we joined the District 9 football conference for more competitive games. However, District 4, the Mid-Penn, which we play in for other sports, is fairly competitive now. Football, those schools are larger than us, so we'd be punching up, as they say, but like we'd be driving to the Williamsport area as opposed to like 2 hours plus away. Now, in order to do that, we would have to obviously leave the conference room and see if the Mid-Penn would take us back, because there may be some bad blood for us leaving the way we left. I heard it was kind of messy, but or some schools, and this is riskier yet, you could try to piecemeal together a football schedule, but it's hard because when you're independent, like you'd be trying to fill with whoever has bye weeks, and it's a lot less fluid than other sports. 'Cause there's only people play Friday or Saturday, and that's pretty much it. So if they don't have an opening that week, then you're kind of out of luck. For some other, I mean, that would address that piece, like one of those two options, and it's something we could pursue if that's important to the board. We could definitely look into that.
That's a good point.
You're always gonna
How many-
face travel.
Yeah.
I mean, we're 30 minutes away, here, other schools, when you start to look at it again, when you start to considering size of those schools, when you're saying District 9, we play some District 9 schools, Du Bois, Punxsutawney, St. Mary's, but you're looking at an hour and a half. And we're typically only playing them once or twice if we have to. But I think that just general location presents some issues to find the number of opponents to fill out a schedule with some of those things. And I think that barrier's always been there. I think that more when Jim refers to Sheffield and some of those schools that were more similar in size, it made that maybe a little more appealing to play a home and away with some of those teams. Those schools have closed now, and that makes finding some of those other teams a little different.
There are some other conferences, like I said, like the Mid-Penn would be a potential like fit. So would the NTL. Those are some conferences that have some small schools similar to us. It would just be pursuing, like if the board wants to look at that, pursuing membership and seeing if they would have space for us in the next cycle after this one rotates.
After the next,
Yep. Yeah.
not this fall, but it would be fall.
Yeah, because everything's already sort of set in stone for this coming season. But like the following year, or depending on where we're at the cycle, it may be the one after, we'd be able to slot in if they would have us.
Alright,
I like
can-
that idea of doing, and just a fact finding. I mean, I think that would be helpful, and then maybe the parents and everything, when they see the
And
information.
I will add, Elizabeth,
Because-
we have good relationships with both those conferences because we're playing for like flex games. Mid-Penn is our home conference for everything except for football. And in the NTL, we play them in a lot of sports as well, just because they have small schools also.
Right.
All right.
How many games do you play a year?
8 to 10, it depends.
Okay.
We aim for 10, but we don't
Well-
stress. If we have a bye week, just do the size of our school. Sometimes having that week to heal up and rest up is
You know,
worthwhile.
I think we played 8 when I was in high
We
school.
play
You
10
know,
is our standard
Yeah.
in those schools.
All right, I'm gonna ask that
you know.
the board read all of this
Yeah.
stuff that they presented us.
Can I say one
And-
other thing?
Yeah,
please?
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I'm sorry, I think that you brought something up a while ago that I think is important. I mean, now, if there's problems with code, we got to deal with that. But it's obviously very important to the community that we continue with this, and there are problems, there are economic problems, there's non-economic problems, but we can work through it. But they may need to get involved. We may need to ask for community help, even in things like, okay, maybe we can't do the bleachers. But maybe they can help maintain the fields. Maybe they can help build the path so that the wheelchairs are, you're
Right.
compliant, things like that, you know? And I think I don't think that's unreasonable to approach them with that.
And I will say our
Yeah.
community is very passionate about our athletic programs. If you ever go to a Buck Hill
Mhm.
football game, the entire town pretty much comes
Oh,
out.
you could tell
They're-
that
Oh, yeah.
last week. I
They're
mean,
well
yeah.
attended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Chris?
Yes, Lord.
Yep, your spreadsheet, this is the one, ticket and pass price increase revenue. You have a proposed all tickets, just $2 to go up. Is that what you're proposing to the board, that this occur before the new budget, or how are we supposed to read this?
Yeah, I think our conversations is, one of the things that we work with Joni to do is, potential revenue. And so one of the things recently in our league, the PHAC, they provided ticket prices for all the schools. And, you know, I tried to get as much information as I could to see where we compared. We've gone back to cash, so that changes a little bit for us.
Yeah.
When we continue to do online, but we do pay a fee. We lose $1 on every sale there.
Yes.
So we make more in on cash sales. Honestly, cash sales are what's dominating again. The
Yeah.
majority of people have gone back to cash. As the AD that has to count the money, it's not always fun, but it is part of the process. But I get those things, but we looked at other schools comparatively with, in our area.
This is
And
where-
we felt like that was a reasonable increase. We also looked back that it doesn't appear like we've had an increase anytime, probably in the last 10+ years.
Yeah.
Other areas
Thanks.
that we looked at were our season passes, things like that. What we charge, you know, for the larger pass scale. I don't know if that means quite as much at Bucktail, but like a pass here, it gets you into all of our sports if you
Sure.
buy the season pass. Whereas we have more teams going throughout the year. And so we felt like looking at that might be an additional revenue source for us down the road to be able to do some of those changes. The other one that was a big topic of conversation, and it is something that we did years ago, we charged a registration fee.
Yeah,
And so
Dr.
we charged
Martin,
it,
yeah.
and we did it for many, many years. I know I paid it when I was a kid, but we
Yeah.
paid per season. The PHAC provided a list of that in our 19 schools. 8 charge no fees. We're one of those schools that charges no fees at all.
Yeah,
It varies from anywhere from, I believe, $25. And most of those did 2 seasons, not all 3. Jersey Shore charges $40 per season for anybody that participates. So they're if a kid's a 3-sport athlete there, they're getting $120 off the registration fees.
And that's per sport, correct?
$40 per sport.
That's what I thought.
Correct.
Um,
And so we used to do that. When you look at social economically, a lot of different things in our area, was it a barrier for kids participating, all those different things? We try to keep all those things in mind, but it is a potential for additional revenue.
if I just want to add one more thing, please. I would like to see that list next, at the next finance committee meeting, what the other school districts in the regions that we play charge and their ticket sales, if that's not too cumbersome. And I mean, I have $2 going up $2. I think this is more than reasonable, but if we could compare, and then if you hear any feedback from families or anything that they don't want to pay for sports or they don't want to pay an increase in their ticket sales, please share with us.
Elizabeth, if you don't mind, I think if we want to look at increasing our revenues in this manner, we need to get moving on it sooner rather than later. And so delaying that decision by a month, I think would be problematic, especially because we want to advertise in the spring before everyone goes away for the summer. So my preference, and I think it would help Joni for her numbers as well, if we generally have a consensus here that we can go ahead and move this. This is an administrative decision and not a board level decision.
And I'll say, I think Dave has done that footwork.
Oh,
I would just say that. I believe Dave has done the comparable with other schools. And I think that's where he landed with the $2 of increase.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood, Dave. My
Yeah,
fault.
and maybe I wasn't clear on that, but we try to take into consideration
Yeah,
as many of the
$2.
neighboring schools and things like that
Right.
as we
That's
can.
not
And
even
we
a
felt
cool.
like that increase was pretty reasonable compared to the other schools. in our
And also go ahead and comment with the registration fees. It was $75 when my kids went. And and so the question I asked Kelly was, when we stopped doing that, did you see a huge increase of participation? And there was not.
No, there wasn't.
And I will tell
was
you
here.
that when my kids played, if a parent could not pay for it, a lot of times the boosters picked it up.
Yeah.
There's also organizations downtown, In Your Shoes is an organization that will also pick up a registration fee. The point is not to deter kids from playing, but if we could generate a little bit of revenue from doing that, I think it appears to be a pretty good option.
I support it because there's so many, like you, that was well described. I have no problem with the student. And if they have economic disadvantage,
Absolutely.
they have a place to go for help.
Well, would we have a consensus from the board members here to let Dave just pursue that?
Yes.
Look into it. Jason, Rich,
Your $2 plus
Okay.
registration fee. That's what
Dave,
we're
you
talking.
got the okay to look into that, you and Jim.
Thank you.
I don't want to cut this off, but we're an hour in
This was
and we
great.
we got a lot to go over yet. I want to thank you two for coming. And I would say if anybody reads through all this and has a question, holler at one of them too,
Holler.
and include Dr. Redmond in it also.
Yeah, we have bi-weekly department meetings and anything, so we can always come back and have further discussion that we can bring back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That was
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Appreciate all the work.
Appreciate it.
Very helpful.
Okay, next up is C3, preliminary general fund budget.
Yes. Colton, are you able to bring up the presentation? 20, it's the third attachment. This is, you've seen this numerous times. I added a couple of additional slides just for informational purposes. What the goal would be today is to get some kind of guidance on what I need for the the May meeting. I have to upload a budget into PDE, so I will need just to have one direction to go in. So we're going to go ahead and go through this. Go ahead and go to the next slide, which is a timeline. Yes, and then the next slide. Again, these are slides you've seen before, so we won't spend a lot of time going through them. And then the next slide. So this is with the no tax increase. So we would be submitting a budget of a deficit of about 3.675. The next slide will show you if there was a 0.88 millage, would then drop down to 3.4. And the next slide is the 1.75% millage increase, dropping it down to 3.1. And the next one is the 2.63 millage increase, would drop that down to almost 3 million, 2.9. And then if it were an Act 1 3.5% millage increase, the deficit would drop to 2.6. So the next slide will show you, and I thought I had this at the last presentation, but I just wanted to show you if we took our local tax, our local revenue, real estate revenue, and spent it on two mandatory expenses, which is property tax, which is PSERS and cyber charter, we would actually not have enough money to cover those two mandatory expenses. So I just wanted to show you just with our local tax alone, where that money would go. The next slide. And this is where I just say, if we were to propose, and this was just a slide to put in, we could put any percentage in there, but 3.5 would help maintain a level tax increase. It goes against your expenditures for healthcare and your matching grants. One of the things the auditors mentioned is we need to start thinking about revenue generation. We need to have more revenues than expenses because we are spending down our fund balance. That was a huge part of the audit this year. This would generate revenue of about a little over $1 million. With a median assessed home value, the tax increase would be about $60. We are still the fourth lowest mill rate comparison in our IU. And there's a graph on that on the next page, I believe. I also wanted to note that Williamsport, Bellefonte, and Baldwin area, all our surrounding school districts, are all proposing a tax increase. State College actually approved their proposed tax increase. We are not the only school district that are seeing the need, because of what we receive from the state and inflation and expenditures, the need to do that. So I just wanted to tell you a lot of our area school districts are doing this. The next slide So here's our fund balance, and I did show you this the last time. And we are projected to be very low for 26, 27. If we stay on track of losing the 3.5 we're supposed to this year and lose another 3.6 next year, our fund balance drops tremendously. So I just wanted to go, this is worst case scenario, of course, but I just wanted to let you know, this is what we know today. The next slide. This is our equalized mill rate. Again, we are fourth from the bottom of our mill rate. So generally, high equalized mill represents a higher tax burden. So you can see, I think, is it Baldigo area? They're at the very top. And we are fourth from the bottom. So we relatively have still a lower tax burden for our surrounding area.
Joni?
Mhm.
I'm just trying to understand this because are you saying the Keystone Central School District millage rate is only 15.5%?
I think that's the average.
I think it's 14 something.
Because this is year 2023.
Yes, this is 23. This is the most updated information they have. Last year I did 20. Yeah, this is 2 years old.
Okay.
It comes right from PDE.
No, I understand. And while you keep going, I'm gonna pull up my spreadsheet that I'm working on.
Mhm.
And so please go ahead.
Okay. So then the next slide will show, I think that was it. I thought it was. So what I'll need today is some type of direction. I have to upload into the PDE system. And for the next May meeting, I will have to present you with proposed general fund budget through
Okay,
PDE.
I see why. All right.
If I could just,
Mhm.
this is a reminder, something I've let the board know before, is that the way the state has conceptualized school budgets is that it's a mixture of state revenue, local revenue, and federal, tiny little sliver. For our district, it's almost 50-50 of local revenue and state revenue. And what legislators call the local share is supposed to take up for our district, because of who our district is, our tax assessed value, and all of the things that make up the economics of our district, about 50%, I think it's 47-ish% of our total revenue for the whole district is local revenue, and a sub portion of that is property tax. The state assumes, built into their equation, that any increases in cost are taken up by a combination of increases in state budget and increases in local revenue. So when the costs go up like ours are, even when we are backing off on our expenses as much as we can by having attrition, by making sure that we're being as responsible as possible, by cutting back on every budget, we're still seeing our costs go up. So Joni has talked before about our medical insurance rising dramatically, a 20% change for next year. Our utilities are going up massively. So we have all these cost pressures that are pushing the cost of doing school business up. And the state increased their BEF funding across the state by 0.6%. And Pennsylvania CPI, the increase in kind of everybody's bills, consumer price index increased last year by 2.1%. So we have a state that's only increasing a fraction of the cost of doing business for their 50%.
Yeah.
And an expectation built into the whole system that there's the local share that's supposed to kind of make up its part of that increase in costs. So Keystone Central School District, like many other school districts, are seeing this kind of double hit of not enough state funding and the pressure on local taxpayers to kind of make up that difference.
Yeah.
In the midst of all these massive cost increases. And so it's not the case that we're not being fiscally responsible. It's not the case that we have giant bloated budgets. It's not the case that we're not doing everything we can. It's the cards are kind of stacked against us. And the whole construct of the way school funding is set up is to put more pressure on local property taxes. So I think that the district as the legislative body should be really interested in putting more pressure on the state legislators to properly fund schools, So it doesn't come back on the local taxpayer to make up that difference that they're not willing to.
Well, what doesn't also help, and we're gonna get into it later, is there were what, 4 bonds
Yes.
since 2019? That, how much are we into it for, Joni?
The total bond debt is about 75 million. We have 4 bonds. There were 2 prior there was escrow projects that were done, and then another bond for a big portion of HVA systems that were put in, and then our two recent Liberty Curtain bonds. So over the span of probably the next 27 years, there'll be about 75 million.
That's with interest.
That is-
There's nothing we
so
can do
45.
about that. That's done. We
Right.
need to concentrate on what we've got now and what we can do.
Right.
And
Mhm.
we truly are between a rock and a hard place, just like you said. First of all, I mean, it's not atypical. The legislatures are great for doing something that really is nothing, but it makes it seem like they're doing something. It's not the first time I've encountered that with things I'm doing, you know, so they raise it 6.6% when it's 2.1% and they pretend they actually did something.
Right.
We got a couple factors here. I mean, one is I did a bunch of reading in this and believe it or not, we're in one of the top 25 counties in the country on taxation.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
he's
You
not
know,
saying it
and
as a
it's because
compliment.
obviously it's because we don't have the greatest economic base in the
Right.
world here.
Right.
So, but what Joni's put a nice presentation here, and the fact of the matter is, even if we raise taxes as much as we're allowed to raise them, we're still $2.5 million, $2.6 million, actually closer to $2.7 million in the hole. And-
Exactly.
We can't function like that. We are not the federal government. We can't just print some more money and take care of it.
Oh,
So
China.
we got to look at the other side. Now, yeah, I know you've been trying, but yeah, I did the figures the last time and I unfortunately I don't have them with me. I apologize. I think it was 1.9% I figured out when you put it in comparable dollars, what we've decreased our spending over the last 3 years.
Mhm.
You know, I may as well say it first because they already are mad at me. They're public putting things out about how bad I am. But I think we need to raise taxes. I think we need to raise taxes the maximum we can. Otherwise, I think the question is, are we willing to go into receivership? Okay, and that isn't going to be fun if we do that, if we are, because if we want to try to fight it, we're going to have to do some things. If we say we don't care, then it doesn't matter what we do. They're going to take us over and do it anyway. But if anybody thinks that the bureaucrats from Harrisburg are not going to push taxes up, I think they're dreaming. And if anybody thinks that they're not going to be aggressive, you know, people were concerned, they turned down the staffing reduction because and you were aiming, if I remember correctly, you were aiming at like classes of about 20, weren't you?
Well, it depends on the age level. So yeah, we looked at the different metrics for the younger students, classes of 20 and the intermediate students, 25.
Okay, if you look at the statutes, when the regulators come in, they can bring them up to 26.
Mhm.
So, plus, there's not going to be any consideration of what the local effects are. You know, if we do it ourselves, we have a little wiggle room. I think we have, you know, anything that isn't absolutely necessary needs to go out of the budget. I mean, we need to cut it back until we're bleeding. Yeah, for instance, I'm a surgeon. I'm sorry, it's a privilege. No, you had a good debridement when you got bleeding. Okay, you know, that's what we need to do. We got to cut back to that. And, you know, if we have to back off, we back off. But that's my opinion.
Well,
If we're going to try, otherwise we're doing the same thing the legislature did. If we raise taxes the lowest rate and say, well, we raised taxes, we're really not doing anything.
When we get,
And we're already on the way. Joni, help me on this. I know you're familiar with it. I think if one of the criteria for being taken over is if you decrease your general fund for 3 years in a row, and we're already working on 2 of them. So
Last year we were, I think last year we were okay, but this year we probably won't be.
yeah, and another is you hit it at you. We're going to be at too low a percentage.
Or honestly.
I don't like it, but I mean, I know it's a stress, but it'd be nice if we could get sort of find out if we knew from the public, but when we're sitting in the hot seats. I mean, what would they rather do? Would they rather have somebody from Harrisburg come in here and do it, or do they want us to do it? But, in my informal polls with the people I know, it's about 50-50. So,
well, when we get a little further into the meeting here, you're gonna see what Joni and her folks and some other department leaders have done. And it's gonna make a huge difference on how we look at things. And we're gonna be able to see areas where we can maybe trim some stuff.
well, that's great. I'm looking forward to that. But the point is,
Yeah.
we don't have time. We got to decide now so that
Exactly.
Joni and Frank can get this done. We only have another 5 weeks. No, what is it? We got to get it. Well, we got to approve it ahead of time, but you got to have the budget in by June 30,
She
right?
needs a consensus
You
from
need
us
the budget by
today.
June 30, right?
I need an approved preliminary the next meeting.
Yeah, okay.
So I need
Right.
some guidance today.
Today,
To
yeah.
get the numbers.
To-
So you
Which
can
is
present
what
it.
I
Because I
thought,
can
yeah.
I can only bring back one choice
Yeah.
at the May meeting.
Gotcha.
We
And you-
cannot
and you either
vote.
approve
We
or-
just can give her a consensus,
Yes, agreed.
but she needs an answer from us 5.
Yeah.
Okay. I downloaded the 2024-2025 real estate mills from
Mhm.
the 2024-2025. So I don't want to, I am not competing against your data.
Sure.
I'm not, Joni. But when we have Keystone Central School District, we have 3 different counties,
Mhm.
Center, Clinton, Potter. Center's at 46.28, Clinton is 14.41, and Potter's at 55.98, which comes to 116 divided by 3. Anyways, our average mills is 38.89. And the other ones on your thing are, all of those taxes were raised. So your numbers, unfortunately, are lower than the 2024-2025.
I don't think you can just divide by 3 because they're,
Well, no, what I'm saying is our average, Keystone Central School District average between 3 counties. The highest mill, the lowest mill in the middle is 30.
I think
basically
that's-
39. But here's my
It's
point.
misleading, and I just
Yeah.
need to point this
Okay.
out. It's misleading because the proportion of our total revenue from Clinton County is so much bigger. What is it, like 27
What you
million
need to
versus about $1.5 million
compare is you need to
versus about
compare
500,000?
Clinton County here and and the Clinton County that's in with the other school district,
Well-
things like
like
that. So
Clinton County's
that-
95%
Yeah.
of our revenue.
Right. Well, that's, what I'm trying to say is Clinton County, according to the spreadsheet I got offline, 2024-2025, Clinton County is only 14.41 mils, okay? And some school districts are, we have one right here, Lackawanna, 196.6.
right.
So what is, be that as it may.
Right.
I emailed you this question earlier, so to prepare you.
And I have an answer.
Okay, please.
So she asked if we could raise one county without raising others. And the answer is no. We are not allowed to raise one county. It has to be uniform across.
Well, then my question is how, like I'll use Lackawanna as an example, how would they have Armstrong County at 41.46 mils and Westmoreland at 106.68 mils? How is that
Our
even?
mills are all different for every county. It's not, all 3 counties have 3 different mill rates.
Right.
Because it's by county, Elizabeth, not, so we have multiple counties in the school district. They're gonna have multiple,
Right, but what I'm saying is why can't we raise, let's just say Clinton County, 0.01%, 0.01 mils, and then raise the other two counties a lot higher, even though Stewartson Township only has like 64 people in it, but be that as it may. I read the legislation and I'm not the professional. You folks are. And it
So
said that they can be different. So,
they are different, but you cannot raise one county. It's 672.1. It's the rebalance law. So you can go ahead and maybe look that up.
okay,
And what that does, that actually happens. This is from Tim Pasco. This is,
please.
I think the answer is that 672.1 rebalance law will actually do that. So that's what that law actually does. It does rebalance the multi-county school districts, because it causes variance in the rate change. And that actually happens across the counties and multi-schools with an annual rebalance. So they do rebalance. They do it for you. So we do have, and then he says, however, after
However.
required annual rebalance, the board cannot choose to raise a tax rate in one county, but not the other, or lower in one and not the other, or levy different rates to each or all. All of that is tied to uniformity.
So in
we
other
are
words,
not.
at some point in the future, they may come through
They may.
and automatically some are higher and some are lower, and they may just neutralize them all so they're similar.
Yes, and that's where that was his
Yeah.
next.
Oh, that's wonderful.
There's a couple of legislators, I just heard about this on Monday, who are looking at this very problem and how there's 84 school districts in the Commonwealth that are in multiple counties. And so there's some legislation floating out there to address
Yes,
that very thing.
that's where he went next, but currently we cannot.
Okay, oh, well, thank you for doing all that research. I did not find that. That's why you're the professional. All right, so that option's off the table. I will say this
What's the
also. Okay.
consensus?
Oh, well, the consensus is if I had to make a motion today, if I was making a motion today, I'm deleting that, boom. If I was making a motion today, I would make a motion to no tax increase with the understanding that only emergency items shall be purchased in the 2025-2026 school year, with the exception of any items that the superintendent may bring before the board. Now, what that means is all extras are taken out, whether it's the principal's budget, school's budget, buying carpetings, buying shade things for whatever, balloons, lunches for employees because they're having a training. I mean, everything. Now, will that mean we're going to make up this deficit of 3.6 million? Absolutely not. My next question is the 3.6 million, does that include the 2 million staffing study that we're going to vote on this month? Why not?
Because it's not approved.
Well, we will approve it this month. It's going to be on the budget. It's going to be on the agenda for May.
That's,
I
well,
don't
we
think
can't
it's
say
$2
that it's.
million.
you can't say
You
that,
can't say it's gonna be approved.
and it
Well-
saves us $1 million, right?
Yeah, it didn't say 2 million.
I thought it was 2. Oh, so 1. Okay, there's 1. Is that taken out of here yet?
No,
Okay.
because it's not a decision that the board has made.
No, we made a decision that for you to do the staffing study and to bring it to us and then we could vote on it.
Since the board, so Joni can't put something in the budget that the board hasn't decided on. So
Right.
yeah, I agree. We'll bring the same information that we did last time we brought it forward. But until the board says that they approve furloughs based on the results of the staffing study, Joni can't depend on those numbers.
Okay, so what if we have a special meeting before the work session and we make that motion? Then can you take that money out of your budget before you present it? How does that sound, everybody?
It would need to happen very early next week.
Well, next week is our
Are you talking
voting.
before June? You're talking about the final proposed
Well, I'm saying if you want us to meet a special meeting before the work session
It's Tuesday.
one in May.
in May. We could have a 15-minute special voting session before the work session.
That's what I'm saying. It would have to happen next week.
Have to have it happen Monday.
I got a question. I don't know, this might mean a phone call to Lindsay right now, but we've got a quorum. We're a committee of the whole. We've got a quorum.
Amend the agenda.
We can make that, we might be able to make that decision now.
You'd have to call an emergency meeting. And And I'm not sure, this is questionable as to
So I
whether or
said I
not it
might
would be,
take a call
yes.
to Lindsay.
Right.
You know.
You'd have to, the board chair would have to call, or a majority of the board would have to call an emergency meeting for the purpose of doing this. I don't think this would fall under the guise of an emergency because there's no buildings burning down, there's no lives in
Alright.
jeopardy. And
Right.
so I
Alright.
don't think that we could do
Okay.
that based on the sunshine law.
No, but what the board president
This is
can
not
do.
life or death and it's not properly.
No, it's not an
related.
emergency, but that was a good idea.
All right, now, so-
But this, we can segue off of that. The board president can make a special meeting at any time when the majority of the board can be there. So if you just want to do a 15-minute, we're meeting May 1st, okay? We are meeting May 1st to have a meeting. This is a private board meeting.
It's an executive right now, so we'd have to re-advertise for it to be a public meeting.
Right.
In order for the board to
Yes.
vote.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the board can come 15 minutes before our special meeting Friday.
Yeah. Do we have
Okay,
time to get the advertisements in, Frank?
What do you want to
So
do?
the
Monday?
advertisement is supposed to hit the streets 3 days before the meeting happens, so no,
No.
Monday,
or Saturday.
Monday? How's Monday look? We show up for 15 minutes. 6 o'clock? What do you think?
I can make Monday.
We can adapt. What do you think, Chair? Monday, 6 o'clock, special voting meeting?
And does the staffing study stand as it was?
That's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
What do
well,
I'm
yeah,
going
Whatever you,
Monday.
as long as it's $1 million plus.
Joni,
Okay.
when do you?
I'm sorry,
have
we
to
can't
have
connect
your
to the money.
report?
I know,
Yeah,
but
to
I'm just-
students.
just so she
So
can-
I need to be really clear
I know,
that the
it's
staffing
about
study was based on
enrollment, yes.
the amount of
Enrollment.
enrollment that
Yes.
changed.
Yes,
What happens with the money is a complete side issue.
yes, but it
To the
is.
board meeting is this Thursday.
relevant.
I have to have it uploaded by that Thursday before.
I can't meet Monday.
Okay,
You have to have it when, Jenny?
The Thursday before, so that's the
30th.
30th.
So she has to have a decision by the 30th.
On the full budget, yeah.
Yeah, on the full budget. So we
Well-
can't do this. We can make a decision, a consensus and give it to her. And then we can consent, okay, then we can add in a staffing study or whatever else for June.
I got another thing. This, no, admittedly, this will be treading really close to the line.
Yeah.
But
Good shot.
we got 5 of us here. If the 5 of us can agree and we can trust each other, we can have the meeting whenever we want.
Well, I think the
If we
consensus,
say that we're gonna vote this way and
Yep.
give Joni what she needs, if we can trust each other to not change.
I don't
It's
change.
close, but
I don't know if we can do that.
We
No,
can have a
it's,
consensus,
yeah, there's issues with
consensus,
pre-decisional
yes.
things.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
but
that's.
we're discussing it. We're not discussing it in private. We're discussing it in public. Anyways, to make a long story short, it's gonna come up as it's gonna be on some agenda at some point. That's what the motion is going to be. I know how I'm voting. I've made it very public. So Joni,
Mhm.
just, you have a consensus here. Okay, you take off whatever.
Consensus on what? I'm sorry, just to clarify.
Consensus that we are going to have the motion to approve the staffing study. Okay, for the furlongs.
That is not what she needs.
No.
No,
don't
I
think so.
understand that.
And we-
I understand that. But why can't you just submit the proposed budget? Because you're gonna just get a consensus either with the idea that those funds are already taken out.
She needs a consensus on which proposal we're doing. No tax, 0.88,
Okay.
1.575, 263, or 350. She can always change it before it's
The final
submitted.
number.
Yes. And I
All right,
can also
well,
She
there you
go
can
go.
back.
change it, but
Yes.
we have
So
to
May and
give her in a
June-
sense
May and June can
consensus.
be different,
Yeah,
but what you approve in May as far as the tax increase
Mhm.
should remain
Well,
the same.
I've given my piece.
all right. My opinion would be It depends. And I mean, but yeah, you're smiling because it's gonna come to you and you, yeah. If you guys legitimately sit down and take a razor to what you're spending and really get back as much as you can, I think it's worth raising the taxes the maximum to try, so we can try to make a go of it. If you're not gonna do that, and we're still gonna be $2.5 million in the hole, why bother? We're going down the toilet anyway, you know?
Well, all we're
So,
doing
I
is
mean, it
giving
means
her a
it's- it
consensus.
means you guys are gonna have to do uncomfortable things.
Mhm.
Cause I'm sure that there's fat in there you can get rid of, but it's nice fat, you know, and you don't want to get rid of it, but. you know,
And there's implications, right? So
Yeah,
we're at the point now that no matter what else we trim back, you're going to have people in this room
I'm gonna be upset,
with,
I
who are
understand.
upset at the board. And so I don't want to, we have to be really careful because the things that we're looking at now have more than just a dollar value.
I understand, yeah.
And so we are working on that all the time, and we're down to class sizes, we're down to whether or not we provide copy paper, we're down to those kind of things. And we're trying to find the things that are furthest away from the impact on student learning. And extracurriculars and athletics are certainly part of student learning that we need to keep in mind.
I agree. In fact, I mean, I think that after seeing that play a couple of weeks ago, after, you know, the way that listening to people about football at Bucktail, with what the kids that I've known here in their athletics, what I remember about that should be one of the last things to go. But we got to do something, or, you know.
I will say this regarding class size. The curriculum committee last night, I made a recommendation that for the next agenda meeting, they put all the PSSA scores by class, by grade, by school for the next next curriculum committee meeting. We have had small class sizes now for years. And I've been watching the PSSA test course. I don't want to get into the whole philosophy of whether or not a child can take a test or not, please.
Elizabeth, right now. we
But
gotta
what I'm
get
trying to
through
say, what I'm
this.
trying to say is, when the staffing study's done, if class size is enlarged, I have no problem with that because having small class sizes hasn't shown huge improvements. So I'm okay with that right now. We have some things coming up this year, next year that I know are going to help with the budget, but we can't even consider them or discuss them right now. But they're on the table for later. So what I'm saying is, I'm sticking with a 0% tax increase with the understanding the motion, absolute only emergency funding. No perks, no lunches, no nothing, except for the things that the kids need for education. So that's where I am. So please, that's where I am.
Just so I can understand, Chris. So you need consensus on which of the four options. This is what's going to be presented to the board on yes or no. So let's just say hypothetically, we pick max 3.5.
Right.
And the board votes it down and we say no tax increase. That's all you need, correct?
It has, I believe it has to be approved.
The
So-
final budget has
so-
to have a vote,
So
but
this,
not the
the way
preliminary.
it may play out, using that scenario. This group says, run the budget with a 3.5. It comes to the full board says no. The board could also have the discussion, we move that Joni go back and write the budget with X% as,
Okay.
or no percent as, and so it would cause a rework of it. We'd have to do another special meeting
Right.
in order to get that passed.
Right.
Okay. So it couldn't be,
It is signed by the president and again, uploaded to PD as a signed, approved.
because
proposal.
we have two sides of the coin here, and my opinion of the board's position, and of course, don't quote me, I'm speaking as an individual, is it will likely be a no tax increase, but that's just my feel on where the board resides. So to me, the no tax increase, but I also don't want to alleviate the responsibility of the board to actually consider a tax increase. So I don't know if it would be more expedient. My thought was to present the board with 3.5 and let people say no, and then say, let's rework this with the 0%, because the decision needs to be made, whereas that was my feeling on this.
Fair enough.
How much do you realistically think maintaining the absolute necessities that you could get out of the budget? Joan, I'm gonna ask you the same question.
How much do you think we can cut?
How
Yeah.
much more we can cut out?
Yeah,
Professional development, anything.
Just
I'm talking about unless it's a core necessity. The state requires that professional development. Anything beyond that? Until we get a handle on
We have
this.
so many things that we pay, membership dues for organizations.
Those
Well,
are
that's what I'm
contractual
asking.
obligations. We,
Yeah.
but if we have.
that's in the
if they're-
contract.
yeah,
So those are
they're
things that we can't get
contractual,
around.
We can't do anything, yeah.
And so professional development, almost 100% of that is paid out of Title II funds, which is the purpose of Title II funds. So that is not a general fund budget item. It doesn't hit our budget.
Yeah, I mean, some of that could be based upon, but again, you'd have to have the unions, some of that, the things we brought up or was discussed was through the health insurance, spousal exclusion, that would save, a bunch of money, but you would have to have the unions open up their
Yeah.
contracts and agree to that.
That's
So
why
how
I'm
much can we
saying,
put our hands on and change?
that's what I'm saying later on this year. We can't do anything right. That's what I'm talking about. Later on this year, we might have some other discussions. And we don't know what those discussions are based on the majority of the board.
So even if we were to say that no school gets a supply budget, we're still less than 500,000.
It doesn't seem possible. Let's listen to everybody here. And then the past conversations, but it doesn't seem possible that no tax increase is going to be helpful at all. It's not going to, whatever we're trying to do here in slashing things and cutting, it's not going to turn us around and start us in a positive direction. We will, as Bill said and others have said over the past couple of months, we're going to be sitting here doing the same thing next year, it seems. And I'm not a genius at this. That's why I rely on those that have that kind of knowledge in them. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Since we are in that position, and I am like you, I'm very concerned about going into receivership, because that's when it is a Titanic. Even if we do the maximum, it's still not going to solve a big problem for us. It's going to take several years of that, plus other things that I have no idea what they would be, but to get the district moving in a positive direction, because we can't exist as an educational institution and do the things we should be doing for kids in our community without having a way forward where we're actually building a solid base and something that's sustainable. We're in the same boat as everybody else, so I respect what you're saying, Liz, I really do, but and those that would not want to raise taxes. But I don't think it's possible to do some, to like go forward without a tax increase.
What if,
Go ahead, sorry. But I would
what
say
if,
3.5, I would support what you're saying there, 3.5.
what if we gave Joni the consensus of a zero tax increase? And then we let Dr. Redmond proceed with the staffing study? All she needs is a number to give the state.
Yeah.
Then, after the staffing study is concluded, and we all look at different departments and say, can we cut this, cut that? We do it together as a board. Then, when the time comes that we must make the final decision, even though we just gave her zero to throw on a piece of paperwork, we can change that number. We might be able to get it down where we don't have to do a 3.5. We have a chance, but we can always say, okay, we found stuff we can cut. The staffing study was bigger than we thought.
Is that true, Joni? I thought,
Yeah.
in my reading, I thought you weren't allowed to change what you,
You can change between your May and June budgets.
okay. Oh, between May and June.
Yeah, so we have
So
that
means
much time.
We got another 4 weeks.
I just want to make it very clear, whatever I come with, and you don't approve it, then we do have to make changes where you do have to officially approve it, and it has to be signed and uploaded.
Right. in
When
June.
does it have to be signed?
Yes, it has to be signed.
When?
After the meeting.
So,
And
so
there has to be 30 days
Right.
in between the approval of May and the approval of June.
Okay,
There
so we
has
gotta
to
get
be
it done
30
by
days.
May 30, at the absolute. latest.
Yes, yes.
But that makes it pretty scary. If
Oh,
we
that's
wait
very
because
scary.
Because if you wait 30 days from May 30th till June 30th, then she has 2 hours. And to actually get the job done after,
No.
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Don't think that I was saying that was a good thing. Okay, you know.
I just want to make that very
Yeah.
clear. They're strict. There's 30 days in between the approval of the preliminary and the approval of the final.
It's just a little bit confusing for me anyway, that what I'm confused about is the staffing study. Tying the staffing study to whether or not we're going to raise taxes seems like the thing that we're not supposed to do.
No, we're not. We're not saying that. I'm sorry, Rich. I
No,
was misquoted or
I didn't,
misunderstood.
this is not a quote for you, but
Oh,
the thing is that what we're doing is saying, no tax increase, go ahead and do this, citizen. No tax increase, we're gonna wait and see what happens with the staffing study. If the staffing study is in our favor, then we'll not be dealing with the tax increase. And I don't know, I'm a country boy, but it seems like you're tying the two together. We're tying the two together. And it seems to me that's going to get us in Dutch. Or it's like, no, you can't do that. Why are you doing it? You know, that's what's ringing in my head. And at the same time, furlough notices are going out already. And I've been trying to figure that one out in my head. A staffing study that's going to help us determine whether or not to follow through on things like furloughs. And I could be very wrong, Frank.
No furlough notices have gone. I don't have permission to furlough anybody. No, we. don't
Yeah, I
have-
was gonna say, there shouldn't have been any
No,
notices
we
go
have not
out.
sent out any
you're
furloughs.
talking about that. I have no idea where that
And
woman
maybe
got that
another
information.
football,
I have no idea.
It's not football.
Situation.
Now, this is,
No, I'm.
yeah, I got a phone call about a couple positions.
Well, we all got an email about it.
Yeah.
I should read my email.
So
You can.
may I, Rich?
will.
May I?
Go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. No, you're absolutely correct. The staffing study is based on enrollment. We know for a fact our enrollment has gone down and we have an abundance, an extra amount of staff. We know that. That's a fact, and that's what it's based on. But it is connected to our budget because that is going to be a reduction in our expenses. So we're not saying that our budget is based on the furloughs. We're saying that that is going to be a cost reduction in our anticipated budget. So however you want to put it, they are connected, but he's not basing the study on that. He's basing the study on enrollment versus the number of staff. That's it.
If when it comes back, the majority of the board approves, I voted for it the last time, so no change. Approves your recommendations about the staffing study. It will save us $1 million, correct, Joan?
Can't remember. The reason
I
why
thought
I'm
it was
hesitant,
ballpark.
million.
It
I thought it was two,
ballpark.
but
I'm hesitant because I'm not sure where it
Alright.
still stands.
But I think it was about $1 million. That's it. That means we're still $2.7 million short.
Well, I'm curious if we can't look at some other positions also. We had a bunch of TPLs.
okay.
can we do point of order? It's just
Yeah.
so we can stay on the point at hand. To get us through this,
Yeah, we're
Mhm.
talking
Joni,
about,
what would be the most expedient number for you? And then the board, this is going to become a top before the board anyway. So just any number, it's all the same amount of work of the 4 options?
It is, but it'll need approved. So
Okay.
you have to bring a number to the table that's going to get
So
approved.
who would like to suggest first a number? We can go around the room real quick.
I said 0.
0? You
I
said
said
3.5?
I said 0 because we can always raise it once we see what we cut first.
So this will be a topic.
Hmm?
We could always cut it too.
So let's just give, that's 2 out of the. I'll have to pick 0 as well, I guess. And that way that's 3 out of 5. Rick?
Mhm.
I'm still,
Okay.
I would
so-
rather, if it, though, for all the people that are here that we're concerned about, or those that are concerned about the reaction that's going to come from anything we say. It
So let me
is
just,
often more expedient to start here and cut. It's, I mean, if you're looking at semantics and people psychologically, to start at 3.5 and say, nah, we can cut it back.
Okay.
Then they go, oh, yeah, right. Okay, that was a nice move on your part.
Hmm.
I know people hearing that say, okay, here we go, playing a head game, but it always works.
So how many do we need for consensus for you? 3 votes, 5, all 5?
3.
We have, yeah, it's whoever's sitting at the table. So
There's
yeah,
5
you're right.
here, so
5,
it's
so we have 3.
3.
Mhm, there you go.
So I do want to mention too, I did receive a phone call, just to let you understand, I did receive a phone call from our insurance company. We are on the tippy edge of being critically not being able to be insured. Reasons being, we are a 3.5% deficit. Lawsuits. Can't, it's mostly the deficit that's holding us back. Again, we have the impending lawsuits coming up.
Which
We have-
insurance company? I'm sorry.
It's our property, it's our Utica, it's our property, general liability and property insurance.
Okay, for liability and
Yes,
property.
yes.
Okay, not health insurance. It's
no,
just property and
Sorry,
liability.
general liability, yes, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Our superintendent is leaving. A lot of these things are coming up and we, getting a phone call saying, hey, you need to be aware that, and we can't be surprised next year if our rate increases dramatically.
Okay.
And no one is probably going to touch us because of these issues. What's that?
Property service updates is another one.
Oh,
They had a couple.
Yes, issues with property services, right, yes. Yeah, so I just want to make you aware, these kind of decisions are, there's a bigger picture.
Yes, and we're also spending $11 million in health insurance plus 1.5 on retirees. So just keep that in the back of your mind, please.
Mhm.
Okay? So every time we raise taxes to balance the budget, you're not looking at the problem. Okay? So please keep that in mind.
Okay, all right, so I feel like I have some direction, and for May, I will come with an upload.
And you'll also present, like I'll say, the 4 slides just for reference for when it comes to a motion.
I can, but the actual document, the Department of Education document will have a no tax increase. And if that's not approved, we would have to meet again with whatever the recommendation would be.
Yeah, we'll make sure the motion's in the agenda. So it's right there, boom. No one has to,
I'd like to just say that this could possibly be a red flag for Harrisburg to make it even worse about whether or not they're gonna put us in receivership.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody just needs to think about that.
Mhm.
There's a lot of discussion going here, a lot of what ifs. We gotta deal with what we got right now. And to me, again, I'm just gonna say it one more time. We got 2 things we can do. We can raise more revenue and we can cut expenses. I agree. There's things that we have expenses on that I wish we didn't have. We can't change them, not without a lot of trouble. Okay, think we're gonna get all the unions to agree to cut back on benefits so that we can cut back on their things? I got a bridge in Brooklyn for you, It's Frank and Jen have to I would say get aggressive with cutting every penny you can get out of what you're spending. And we're still gonna be in the hole, but at least we're starting in the right direction if we do that. But if we don't raise taxes, it's gonna make it even worse, because one, we're gonna deplete the general fund more.
Right.
Two, again, there was so many, such gobbledygook and so many things. I spent hours reading that stuff about receivership. But not raising taxes is one of the things that gets their attention.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
again, that's the way
You can
it's
pretend,
built.
or again, I think really the underlying decision that we need to make is, do we care if we go into receivership? If the answer is no, I don't care what you do, because we're getting there. I do care. If the answer is yes, then we got to be aggressive.
Okay,
Mhm.
Joni,
Mhm.
you have your direction?
Mhm.
Okay, let's move forward. Number 4, the budget and department budgets. Now I'm gonna tell all of you, there's a lot of reading here that all of us have to do. There's a lot of stuff here, but we've asked Joni time and time again about making all the budgets for every department and every school readable to where it's a close thing to what it is. And they have done a fantastic job. Everybody's screaming their budget went way past what they said it was gonna be, but now we have an accountable picture of it. We can see different departments, what can be changed. One of the biggest things that I saw, if you look at 26 to 27 curriculum budget, if you guys bring that up,
I read it. Yep.
last month, the curriculum budget was $367,000. By Joni realigning what other departments were paying for that budget, the curriculum is now at $1,002,905. Because the curriculum budget is real. Like before, there were computers coming out of that were used for classroom curriculum were coming out of a different budget. No, that's why none of us could see true transparency in numbers. All the public utilities stuff was all being brought out of Sam's budget. Now you're gonna see PP&L, the water and everything coming out of each individual school budget, which makes that budget go up. The money still comes out of one pot, but now we can see where things are being spent. One thing that was brought up to me, and I don't mean to pick on curriculum, but that was a huge one, was computers. You heard me say that before. Instead of each individual kid having their own computer, some of the younger grades could be sharing computers. I found out that second grade and ninth grade are due new computers this year. But there's some of them younger grades that can be sharing would save us around $200,000. And I asked Ed for some numbers. And kindergarten in February and March, both, and April, each kid averaged 5 minutes on their computer a day.
Let me
Finish
okay, 'cause
first.
I just wanna- Mhm.
First grade, February and March were 15 minutes a day. Second grade, February and March were 10 minutes a day. Third grade February was 20 minutes, March was 35. Fourth grade, February was 45 minutes, March was 60. With that said, on just those younger grades, instead of buying each kid in the class a new computer, if they shared them, we could save over $200,000. That's one shot.
Man,
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
yeah, that's really important. That's a conversation that this board hasn't had an opportunity to talk about. We're not, it's off agenda, so I'm not gonna bring it up, but I'll be honest with you. It has to do with the laptops. If we just took out the student computer supplies, $440,000 right there, boom, take it out, give the laptops that are being used by the kindergartners and the first graders and the second graders if we have to, and give them to the students that are actually using them. I find it preposterous that a school district in our financial state is getting laptops for kindergartners, first graders. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that right now. Just, there you go. We just saved $440,000.
Elizabeth, with that said, I've talked to a lot of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They are having them kids do some reading on them. But just hang on, don't give me the looks. With that said, if they shared computers, we're still saving a ton of money. If we maintain one-to-one laptops and they refresh 3 grade levels, that's 330 computers per grade. It's gonna cost us a little over $500,000. If we maintain and only refresh 2 grade levels, which is 330 a grade, it's gonna be $355,000. If we put carts in the room for kids to share, instead of each one having their own, we'd be down to about $188,000. If they split them out, we're down to about $188,000 to replace. None of this is replacement charges, replacement keys, keyboards, Colton has reported a dramatic decrease in student device damage, which is good. I have device damage numbers also if you want them. But regardless, the cart method, which I'll let Colton explain, is working. Having them take them home only in advance of a potential FID may help and reduce even more losses. So the kids are, at the end of the day, Colton, if I'm wrong, they put their computer in a cart and it stays here, correct?
That model is not currently being followed. That is a model that we would like to transition into
Okay.
for students in grades K through approximately 6th grade, where the devices stay in building.
They go home.
Right now they do.
As of right now, they do go home for grades 5 through 12. We have noticed a significant decrease in the number of device damages in the last 2 weeks at the middle school, with the devices staying in building for the PSSA testing. Prior to that, we were averaging approximately 6 to 10 devices per day that are being damaged. Now, with the last 2 weeks, I'm lucky to see 1 or 2 devices a day damaged.
Because they're staying at school?
Because they're
Yeah.
staying in school.
Well,
They're not traveling home. They're not traveling on the buses. Now, the only thing is this would affect our ability to do flexible instruction days if we go to the CART models out at the elementary school, if we're not doing 1-to-1, because you're not going to have enough devices to send each student home with a device.
Okay. Thank you, Colton. I will say this, the amount of snow days we have on emergency days, that's something, the calendar is something I've always wanted to work on, and we will be doing it in the near future, but be that as it may, we don't add in enough snow days and emergency days in our current calendars. And that's something I hope we can have a discussion on in sometime in the near future. So be that as it may, boom, that problem is pretty much solved once we deal with the other issue. So, we are under emergencies. Well, we have been under an emergency financial distress locally for years now. So I don't,
We're getting off topic.
I realize that. So what I'm saying is it absolutely necessary this budget year coming up? Is it absolutely necessary that those kids take those laptops home every single day with the understanding you're doing it because of an emergency purpose? And my response to that would be a no. They don't need to take them home. So boom, we just saved money. Now I will say this, again, segueing, but please, if you're interested, Google the layman's research on the Chromebook and what other school districts appear to be doing. More and more of them are getting away from Chromebooks and they're going back. Now, I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying now they're going back to more of a hybrid. Some books, some Chromebook, and so they're swinging the pendulum towards the middle now.
That's not what
Well,
we're
I know, but
discussing
no,
right
I
now.
realize that, but what I'm saying is when we talk about getting rid of that piece of the proposed budget, $440,000. If the Chromebooks stayed in the building, if the younger kids didn't have Chromebooks, or if they shared them one-on-one, boom, there you go.
All right. I'm gonna stop you, Elizabeth, because we're way off topic.
Okay,
All I was doing was giving you guys
well,
one department to look at. And I'm asking that you guys go in and you're gonna see all the budgets that are broke down there. And you're gonna see how Joni did it. Let's go to, Mill Hall. If you guys open that up and look. We can now see the brunt of their budgets. Okay, because the electricity, the heating, everything's been adding into them. The only thing that's not really added into that are payroll and benefits. Okay? I just wanted you guys to be able to see, hey, it's not an exact budget, but this is the closest to a real budget per building we've seen since before I got on the board.
oh, we've never had it.
So this is stuff we can look at each one of these individually and say, okay, what can we do to help build a budget? As a business, no business in the world works out of one pot. I mean, you do, but each department has their budgets.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's how the real world works. We are doing that now. Joni and her staff have done way above and beyond what I was even thinking. But it gives us a real world picture. That's what we need to concentrate on now. And if you think something is in these, I only brought up curriculum because that one had a big jump. But we can look at budgets now and we can all think of different ways we could save.
The other one is when administration, is there, Joni, have you heard, is anyone in administration wanting new MacBooks? This for the coming fiscal year?
Administration?
Yeah,
Not that.
teachers.
Oh,
Okay.
teachers or administration?
Well, it says administrative software technology under technology budget. $963,000,
So that is all software other than curriculum.
all software that's running the
So-
buildings.
So Tyler Tech, the accounting software. It could be that. It could be Power School.
Yeah, the student information system.
Another good example on here for you folks to
Okay.
look at is last year, property services budget was $1.6 million. By Joni rearranging all these numbers, to where they're coming out to. His budget was $225,400. That's because everything was being taken from everybody else. Nobody could keep track of it. We couldn't see where it was. Still, it all comes out of the same pot. But now if you want to look at saving money or where can we cut this, where we can cut that, now you have an area to look at. Is it going to save us? Maybe not, but we can seriously look at how we can start adapting things.
Yeah, and the best part is with this new software, you won't see a trend until the following. She can't marry the old software to the new software, so we can't see last year's budget.
I'm working on that.
Oh, you are?
She's
Tomorrow.
working on it.
Tomorrow I have a meeting.
Yes.
Oh,
Just 1 year.
that
We're
would
trying to
be
work it.
I'm
huge.
working.
But saving a lot of the technology stuff,
Oh,
the
good job,
computers
Tony.
is gonna be a big help. It's up to you guys to look at all these different boxes and see what we're doing. It's a lot of reading, but as time goes on, we won't have to read all these this way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's excellent job, you two. Very
All
good.
right. Next one down the road. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Or you want to see something cut out of here?
Okay. Next one down is 5. That was 2025 and 2026 building and department budgets. You can see the differences and how it was made. It kind of mirrors where Joni is now with it. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, very helpful.
Bill, Jason, Rich? At least now we have a starting point we can look at.
Mhm.
Okay, no questions on that. Let's go to number 6, interest earnings.
Okay. This is the report that you see every month.
Mhm.
The general fund, the interest as of the end of March is 27,490. We did close the CD and move the money over to the money market account. The rates were so close, and having it in the money market account makes it more liquid in case we would need to use that money
Mhm.
versus putting it in a CD. We're going to keep an eye on the CD rates though. Starting in
Mhm.
July, what's that?
You're not getting 4%.
No, I didn't think we would, but we'll keep looking. And we tend to play Pliget and First National Bank against each other. So sometimes you can get, deal it. And then, like I said, the money market's closed. So I'm sorry, the CD is closed. The money market, it's quarterly, so that stayed status quo. Wait a minute. Sorry, the CD is closed. Sorry about that. Jump down to money market. And as of the end of March, it made a little 1.1 million. I'm sorry, 235,000 total 1.1.
gonna
Holy
say.
cow, sorry. 235,687 for this year, a million total. And then tax fund, tax office minor, at the end of March paid $332. Now we'll be closing a lot of the tax accounts,
Yeah.
towards the end of probably July, August, September, once we see,
The transfer.
once we see Berkheimer taking over completely. So, which is fine. Okay.
One thing by looking at all these budgets, how they're broke out now, it's gonna be up to us to say, we need to cut this, we need to cut that. Or we're not gonna do this, not gonna do that. That's why it's gonna be imperative for everybody to sit down and do their homework. And we can see where we're gonna end up.
Well, it's also very helpful for the public because as we chip away at certain things,
They can see why.
then also when the day comes, when I will vote for a tax increase someday after those other steps are taken care of first, it'll be obvious that it's down to the basics, but good, solid basics. So.
All right, does anybody else have any questions? For Joni, for Frank?
No, deeply.
This is the longest financial meeting I've ever been in.
So I just have one question, Joni, I guess, and what's proper protocol? If I'm asking Joni a question, it's just protocol to CC the entire board, or I'm one of the guy who doesn't like to clutter email, but I will if I need to.
I'll be honest with you, there is no set protocol, but I will say from my own experience, I was always left out of the conversations, myself and the other people in the minority. Okay, and all of a sudden we'd be like, well, where'd that come from? So I just think out of respect, I always carbon copy everyone so everyone has equal access to information. And you may actually be asking a question that somebody else wants to ask, but they didn't know how to put it together.
Okay, so CC the board.
I would, but you can do whatever you want, Jason, okay, whatever you think is best for you.
And I'm not very different from that. It often, if someone in the admin team says, hey, I received this question, I'll say, send it out to anybody for the same reason, or send it out to everybody on the board, because more people might have that question, or we want to be transparent early.
Yeah. Thank you for asking, Jason.
All right, we're gonna call the finance meeting done at 5:10.
All right, excellent.
Thank you, everybody.